Good. Good afternoon once again. We are continuing with our school board interviews this morning and this afternoon, just to bring everybody up to date of what we have accomplished so far today. We began at 10 a.m. interviewing Dr. Ronald Scott Fritz. Mr. Fritz's interview was followed at 1 p.m. We interviewed Dr. Peter Licata. Let me go back and mention Dr. Fritz is from Osceola School District, and Dr. Licata is from the Palm Beach County School District. Our next interview will be with Dr. David Moore from Miami-Dade County, and we'll be beginning that interview right now. So let's welcome Dr. Moore. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. I hope you've had a good day.
I've had a wonderful day. Saw some great things at some outstanding schools.
Good, good. A good night last night, I hope, as well. And,
absolutely. Got in a little late, but we had a good time.
Good, good. That's great. Well, we are certainly glad that you're here, and want to take an opportunity to introduce our members of the school board, beginning with school board member from District 3, Ms. Linda Cuthbert.
Hey, how are you?
Our school board member from District 5, Mr. Ruben Colon. Our school board member from District 1, Ms. Jamie Haynes. Our school board member and vice chair from District 2, Ms. Ida Wright. Connie Spire is our agency clerk. And next to me is our chief financial officer, Ms. Deb Muller. My name is Carl Persis. I'm the chair, and I'm so happy that you're with us and that you've enjoyed your stay in Volusia County. We are going to, each of us will be asking you questions. Okay. We've allotted about 12 minutes per person. Certainly, you'll have time at the end, Dr. Moore, to give a closing comment and ask any questions of the board, too, that you may have. So unless you have any questions, we'll just go ahead and get started.
I have no questions. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to asking or answering any questions you may have.
All righty then. The first question that I have for you is to just get your thoughts, your opinion on what do you think is the most important part of being a superintendent and why?
Establishing expectation. And when I say expectation, I mean expectation that would be blanketed over the entire Volusia County. Expectation is the opportunity for me as a leader to establish a belief that as a result of our relationships, our interactions, our connections with students, absolutely all students can and will learn, providing an environment for them that allows them to identify their potential, but also as a result of our teaching, our learning, empowering them with the skills, the ability, the behaviors, they can spend a lifetime redefining and enhancing that potential. So when you look at expectation, it is an expectation for every member of the organization, established in belief, defined by clearly establishing accountability and support. And when you look at accountability and support, it's the opportunity to connect with the organization, to connect with the people in the organization and say, hey, if we're going to be best by kids, we need to connect to one another. We're going to do this complex work, but we're going to have transformational impact on the lives of these children. We need to work together. We need to learn together. We need to support each other as we uphold our behaviors to fulfill the expectation that we have to have a positive impact on the lives of children. When I say expectation and having it blanket the entire community, that's ensuring that I am communicating as your superintendent that the members, the families, people in our churches, in the community, in the grocery store, they have an expectation on us. They fully hold us accountable to ensure that when they give us their most precious possession, their children, that we provide them with a transformational education that ensures that they can continuously redefine and accelerate their achievements within their lives. That expectation is communicated to me through the community. We work together. We leverage that complex work. So it is an opportunity to establish relationships, communicate an expectation, mutually hold ourselves accountable to implementing the behaviors, developing the systems and structures in order to ensure Volusia County is a world-class educational system.
Thank you. So as we select our new superintendent, you know this is a difficult task for us. We have
It's a difficult task to go through.
we have 3 outstanding candidates. So sticking with the number 3 here, what are your top 3 strengths, abilities, and how do you see that connecting with the Volusia County School District?
So when you're looking for just 3, right? Okay, just 3. I am a member of a leadership team that has produced unprecedented, unparalleled results. I am bringing to Volusia County the know-how. I'm bringing an opportunity to establish new systems and structures that pull people together in order to ensure we produce unparalleled, unprecedented results here in Volusia County. So experience on how to do things differently in order to achieve significantly different results, results that are better. I think I have the ability to identify talent. I think I have the ability not only to identify talent, but pull those teams or those individuals together, connect them to one another, and empower them to solve complex problems. Being a superintendent of a district this size means you need to have world-class principals, world-class teachers, and world-class staff. And we need to be able to ensure that we're constantly investing in them, because when they're in their schools and they're leading their teachers, they have the ability to make difficult decisions in order to be best by kids. And then third, probably most important, I'm a teacher. I am an educator at heart. I am the son of a principal. It is in my blood. It is what I do. I see this career as God's work. As your superintendent, I continually will invest in my own development. Just as a pastor would be entrenched in the Word in order to feed his or her flock in that particular faith, as does a superintendent need to be in his own or her own development in the research in order to ensure if we're going to move to a 21st century learning organization, I need to invest in myself in order to ensure we have systems and structures and we are on the cutting edge in order to ensure we provide that kind of learning environment.
Thank you. We are now going to go around and ask a few questions,
All right.
and we will begin with Ms. Cuthbert. And Ms. Cuthbert, whenever you are ready.
I'm going to address curriculum and student achievement.
All right, my favorite topic. Let's go.
All right, yes, mine too. What innovative ideas do you have for our school system to address graduation rates across all subpopulations?
So when you look at graduation rates, I think there's opportunities to improve the overall graduation rate. So currently 79, Miami's at 85. I think there's a number of systems and structures that initially need to be in place. Ensuring that we're accurately reporting that information to the state would be priority number 1. Are we accurately capturing where our students are finishing or, in unfortunate situations, not finishing? Those are simple structures at school sites between the registrar, between the assistant principal, the principals, and in between schools and in between various counties, ensuring we have the systems and structures in place in order to accurately monitor graduation rates. In order to ensure we're maximizing and ensuring every student that walks into our high schools in 9th grade, they graduate 4 years later, we need to ensure that we have a student services team that is empowered, engaged, and understands everything that they need to do to monitor the progress of students as they move through their 4 years of high school. It is unacceptable to wait for a student to be in 11th grade and be 4 or 5 credits behind before we start talking to them about remediating or recapturing those credits. We need to be proactive. We need to ensure when students fall behind, we don't wait for the end of a grading period. We don't wait for the end of a school year. We are connecting with them. We have real relationships with them. We are advocating for them in order to ensure they don't get behind. When you look at students, the biggest barrier to that graduation, that diploma that our students are all working so hard for, is that FSA ELA, that reading test. Once again, there are opportunities to ensure that as students who are struggling to find mastery on that particular exam, that we're being innovative and maximizing opportunities for them to receive concordance scores. So we should be working through PSAT, SAT, linking those assessments to Khan Academy and making sure we're using resources to expand opportunities for students to graduate. There are students who in 11th and 12th grade who have not found mastery on the FSA, then we need to look for alternative motives. And in Miami, we're finding tremendous success in using Khan Academy in order to accelerate opportunities for students to grow. Those are some strategies in order to ensure that graduation rate is where it needs to be for students who are struggling. The answer to your question is core instruction. The answer to your question is starting in K through 12, providing them with core instruction that is aligned to the standards and every day of the week, twice on Sunday. Except for we don't work on Sunday, but you get my point. And when students fall behind, when they're not mastering those standards, we have the ability to differentiate instruction to pull them back up to the standard. We need to have a high expectation about what we're doing around core instruction and ensuring that we have the best teachers who we're supporting and we're empowering to never have it become an issue. Need to be proactive and intentional. And then closing comment on graduation rate, the biggest dropout strategy, activities, athletics. Ensuring that we have robust programming to connect students to that high school experience. That culture needs to be strong, it needs to be tight, it needs to be a place where every child walks into that school, feels comfortable, feels accepted, feels loved, and knows as a result of me being in this environment, the pressures of the world fall off me. I can fully connect to what's taking in that classroom and go beyond graduation, go to college, and find success.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Then how would you assist teachers, students, and principals in handling too many distractions that are now occurring during the school day? Drills, special assemblies, events, fairs, testing, concerts, pulling out students for special help, guest speakers, that any school day brings to this, this program. So how can we then support the precious academic time and keep that growing instead of all these other obstacles that impede upon that time?
Absolutely. I think an impactful superintendent, a powerful superintendent, the superintendent that I intend to be, models the behaviors that he expects of his principals. We need to honor classroom time. I need to, from a district perspective, if we push out initiatives and programs, protect that time. I don't need to just say that we're going to honor and protect instructional time. I need to support principals. I need to support staff in a way that sets that expectation, that if we want our children to succeed in the 21st century learning environment, we need to protect that particular environment. By setting that expectation and modeling that behavior, we also expect principals to do the same. And when principals do not, or principals fall away from rigorous academic programming and supporting and developing teachers to be world-class educators, then there's a level of accountability that reminds them of our expectation. And when I say accountability, once again, it's accountability to holding ourselves accountable to be in the best interest of children. So nothing stands in the way of my actions and my behaviors to be best by children. We need to ensure principals live and die by that same mantra. In our buildings, we are going to protect instructional time. We are going to walk in classrooms, and this is a practice that I did when I was a principal, and this is a practice I did yesterday when I was visiting schools. It was a practice I did when I was visiting your schools today. I envisioned Madison Taylor Moore and Caitlin Nicole Moore, my two daughters, in that classroom. And if that instruction isn't good enough for them, then it's not good enough for the children who are in that classroom. And then I need to respond and I need to react. And principals know. Principals have the understanding. They assess the entire day, every day. Every minute of a school day for a principal is an opportunity to reflect, evaluate, and learn.
Thank you. Okay, as the lead learner of a large school district, the fourth largest in the country, I must add, how would you influence or create a culture of inclusion that fosters high expectations to close the achievement gap of all of our subgroups, such as students with disabilities, students of low social economic status, and those of all races?
We have one goal in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and it's student achievement. We hold ourselves accountable at every level of the organization as it relates to that particular goal. We ensure that every member of the organization has the opportunity to walk in their purpose. When I say walk in their purpose, they clearly understand the role that they have, whether it is the assistant superintendent or working in the cafeteria, how that role supports students, allows them to find success. May not directly connect to in-classroom, but everyone clearly understands we have one singular goal. They walk in their purpose each and every single day, understanding how their role, their job, supports student achievement. To answer your question, to be more specific, setting expectation, setting purpose, but ultimately ensuring as an organization, if we're going to grow and we're going to meet the needs of all learners, we need to be intentional about investing in ourselves. We're educators. We need to ensure that we have world-class teachers, world-class administrators, which means we take time out of the day to invest in ourselves. This system is too large for any one superintendent to bring about long-term impactful change. But if that one person, that one superintendent, is determined to invest in every member of the organization to ensure that they have the highest skills that across the nation regarding their particular role, then ultimately expectation begins to increase. Conversation and dialogue continues to happen regarding how we are ensuring we're addressing the needs of all learners.
Thank you. What is your vision for student learning, especially online learning, CTE, and STEM, or STEAM?
We're a STEAM district. It is to ensure that we're maximizing those programs and resources and the dollars that are often connected to them in order to improve. So when you look at STEAM, there are opportunities for staffs to come together, evaluate the programming that is in place, and problem solve on how to enhance the STEAM initiative and the STEAM programming that's being available. It's an opportunity to bring staffs together to look at rubrics, to define how do we improve our environment? How do we begin to integrate content and curriculum in order to ensure we're preparing students for the 21st century learning? I think CTE is an opportunity for improvement. So as I do my research, I see we have 44 CTE programs. But when I look at acceleration for our high schools, of the 10 high schools, it's about 23 percentage points lower than Miami. Miami's at 76. So there's significant opportunities. We need to ensure that those CTE programs lead to industry certification. We need to ensure that our students are connecting in these programs because they are relevant to the work industry. Industry has a need, and as a district, to be best by our community and best by our students, we need to ensure that we're preparing them with certification that puts them above someone who doesn't obviously have that certification in order to enter the world of work if that is their goal, or that's where they want to enter into the work world. So it's maximizing resources, it's maximizing the program and the content associated with those particular initiatives in order to ensure we're maximizing outcomes.
Thanks. And my last question, sir. Could you please tell us a time when you've worked with others or have used an out-of-the-box approach to assist our, any district to achieve academic success?
That is my job. So 4 years ago, superintendent approached me and asked me to evaluate the systems and structures associated with the Education Transformation Office, the District Turnaround Office. And at that time, there were 65 schools that were below a C, and that was unacceptable to us. So rather than evaluate the systems and structures of one office that was providing support to D and F schools, we re-envisioned and shifted our paradigm to ensure that we were not just having systems of support for D and F schools, but designing ourselves in a way in which we would never have D and F schools. So on a daily basis, as we've created a number of different powerful practices that go across all cabinet members, my responsibility is to connect these cabinet members to the decisions that they make and the impact that those decisions may have on our district's most fragile schools. So I work every day in order to pull individuals together, great individuals who do great work, and maximize their intelligence and maximize the resources that are available in order to ensure Miami-Dade County Public Schools has no DRFs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Cuthbert. And now we'll continue with questioning from Mr. Ruben Colon.
Hello. So I am going to be covering internal and external communication. How would you ensure that the school board is informed of important matters?
So research is clear. When you look at districts that are successful across the nation, a prerequisite for that successful district is an informed and engaged board. If we are to be the district that I want to lead, the district that you want to lead, we need to be connected. To speak directly to your question, it's a willingness for each of us to establish a relationship. I can talk through and talk through the systems and structures that need to be available to ensure that you're informed, but I think I need to begin with relationship. Opportunities for us to connect as people who are connected in the purpose and power of public education. A willingness for us to hold each other accountable. A willingness for you to sometimes support me and encourage me, and sometimes the opposite. This is complex, difficult work. Transforming a district, I know, is difficult, complex work. But I also know we've been able to accomplish in Miami because our superintendent and his board are connected in mindset, connected in belief, and ultimately work together to support one another to move the district forward. So systems and structures that need to be in place. I know currently we do workshops and then have the board meetings in the afternoon. I think we need to be 6 to 12 months out and looking at the items that will come to be approved. I want you as a board to have opportunity to hear information in regards to policy or programs that you're going to be asked to approve. I don't want you to hear it for the first time in the morning and then approve it in the afternoon. I want you to have opportunities to provide me feedback. I want you to have opportunities to go out to your constituents and receive their feedback. I'm very intentional in everything that I do, very proactive in everything that I do. So I will ensure we will use that time of workshop in order to forecast out and have discussions about items and policies that you're going to be asked to approve with enough time to ensure that we're all on the same page and connected when it actually goes to the school board meeting. You'll receive impact emails from me on a weekly basis. This is an opportunity for you to receive the information on a weekly basis that you can review, peruse when you have the time to keep you informed of things that you need to be informed of. Now, there won't be an email when something, a crisis happens. That'll be a phone call. But as we go through the flow and the operation of a school day or a system over the course of the week, there are opportunities to keep you informed. During your CMEs, what I call CMEs, it's an opportunity for me to sit and engage with you, talk through the difficult decisions that we're going to have to make regarding human capital at schools, or shifts in assignments, or operational or programming or facility concerns that we need to make. And it's an opportunity for us to connect and be on the same page regarding where we need to be. An informed and engaged board ensures that we will, in fact, be a transformational district.
Great, thank you. When a new superintendent is hired, you want to make sure that the transition is as smooth as possible for everyone. How would you help both the educational community and the community at large adjust to the new governing style that will come with a new superintendent?
So we're in the business of people. Education is a people's business. And as a new CEO comes into an organization, absolutely, people are going to be concerned. People are going to have questions regarding the work that they do. We are passionate as educators regarding this work, and there will be confusion. There will be questions. As the superintendent, it is my responsibility to address those concerns as quickly as possible. Pulling together staff, teachers, administrators, district folks, and having an opportunity to connect with them regarding this is the entry plan that I'm going to be implementing over the next 100 days. This is going to lead to the development of a strategic plan. Do I believe there's going to be organizational shifts? Absolutely. Do I believe organizational shifts are a requirement in order to design ourselves in a way where we can maximize the shortfall of dollars that is provided by the states to be best by children? Absolutely. But what I know, if we're going to be successful at this work and be successful at this work for a sustained period of time, we need to connect to one another and do this work together. And this isn't one person coming in and saying, here is the blueprint, do things this way. I'm coming in with a theory of action that has produced outstanding outcomes. But within that theory of action is developing and investing in the members or the individuals who stand in front of students and stand in front of teachers each and every single day. You want to build a world-class educational institution? Invest in the individuals who make up that organization. Empower them to define where we need to go as a district and hold them accountable for those particular outcomes.
Great, thank you. What methods of communicating with parents have you found effective, and how would you encourage and leverage parental involvement?
Every parent's reality is different. If that parent is coming from a single-family home, coming from poverty, there are parents who live together, a mother and a father raising a child. There are grandparents who serve as parents. There are foster parents taking on the challenge of loving a child and raising them as their own. But I know, without doubt, without reservation, those parents send their children to us with the expectation of receiving a quality education. When you look at parental engagement, we need to understand the complexity of their realities, the truth of their reality. And we need to diversify how we allow parents to engage in their child's education, using multimedia, using technology, allowing parents, whether it be a development of our own district app, whether it be gradebook communication, whether it be push notifications, opportunities to engage and be involved in the development of their child. Each parent is working 2 jobs because that's their reality. And because they're doing that to be best by their children, we need to continue to diversify our ways in which that parent can invest in their child. Keeping them informed is an expectation. Keeping them connected requires us to think differently about how we're involving and engaging parents. I think we need to ensure that we have a parent development program. The best job that I've ever had is to be a father. Learning how to be a father is complex, hard work. And as a system, if we're going to grow together, we need to invest and provide opportunities to engage and inform parents to establish a relationship with their children that leads to success not only in the classroom but in the community.
Thank you. So we've spoken about educators and we've spoken about parents. How do you plan to communicate with the public on matters of school control? Of concern?
Provide access. You will see me out and about and providing availability of myself constantly. I have learned from one of the nation's greatest superintendent, if you're going to enforce expectation, if you're going to have one singular goal for a district, which is student achievement, you need to provide access. You need to be completely informed regarding where the district is, how it is functioning, and how do the individuals who are sending their children to us each and every single day feel about the quality of education. And then receiving that information, whether it be in the community, whether it be at church, always available to have deep conversation and dialogue regarding the truth of our educational system, and then circling back, not defending, not justifying, but being intentional about evaluating that concern or that feeling, holding individuals accountable in order to ensure we're making proactive decisions to improve the quality of this public education system.
Great. One last question. How would you ensure that all staff is informed on important matters?
All staff informed in important matters. Once again, it goes back to this being a people organization. As a superintendent, this is a large district, and you need to ensure that the individuals who are charged to lead people are very open and transparent. So as a superintendent, as I was saying, I will be available. I will be accessible. I will be able to have open and honest conversations about the truth of our district and follow up accordingly. Superintendent has to set an example on how we're constantly evaluating and learning. Staying informed. If we're not informed, we're not learning. And as adults, if we're going to improve our practice, and our practice is teaching children, we need to constantly have the systems and structures in place to evaluate our actions, to connect to one another regarding implementation, fail forward, identify opportunities to improve in order to grow faster than any other district in the nation. So it needs to be intentional. Keeping informed. If we're not informed, we're not learning. If we're not learning, we're not growing. And we become a stagnant, stale district. That won't happen.
Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Colon. And now we are continuing with questioning from Ms. Jamie Haynes.
I have the area of human resources. In our system, the superintendent handles the operations of a variety of programs and duties due to the size of the system. Explain your specific experiences with exceptional student education, federal programs, and career tech.
All right, so when I first moved to the district, initially I was a director having the opportunity to support 40 of our district's most fragile skills, building conditions in order to ensure those schools were finding success. About 18 months into that assignment, I was promoted to the assistant superintendent of the Division of Academic Support. For just under 2 years, I led the Exceptional Student Education Office in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, the 4th largest district in the nation. During that 2 years, it provided me the opportunity to reorganize, shift the structures and systems of the office in order to maximize performance and support. A strong focus on building capacity and awareness regarding instructional activities to meet the needs of all students. A strong push on ensuring that we're increasing opportunities for our exceptional education students to find success in the mainstream. One of the things that I'm most proud of the time that I was in charge of that office was the establishment and creation of an autism office. This was an office that didn't exist before, but seeing the rapid growth of autism and the lack of understanding in terms of the district, as well as parents in the community, this was the opportunity to identify a solution to a complex problem, ensuring that our administrators and our teachers had a clear understanding of how to address and provide support for our autism students, while at the same time providing advocacy and support for the parents of autism children. When it comes to CTE is a constant evaluation, maximizing PERK and dollars in order to grow the industry certification exams and preparing students. So we need to be intentional, as I was saying earlier, of evaluating those particular industries, ensuring as an organization, as a district, those core offerings are relevant to the field, the work world. And if they're not, sometimes we need to stop offering them. We need to be bold enough to say, this is something that doesn't meet industry needs. We need to shift or modify that particular practice. But in partnering and working with our external partners and our businesses across the county, they've defined this need. There is a new industry coming into town, and we need to ensure that we're providing work-ready students to go into that career if they so choose.
What about federal programs such as Title I?
I was going to say Title I. I was just pausing. I'm kidding. So, Title I is how the Education Transformation Office was funded 3 years ago. So, knowing the work that you used to do, I know you know that funding for Title I has changed significantly over the last 4 years. In that shifts, dollars funnel through to the schools, as they should. But that did limit our ability to set aside funds in order to ensure, as a district, that we're being equitable and ensuring students who need the most receive the most. We work with our principals in terms of the allocation of Title I dollars, conducting what we call master schedule reviews, looking at all of the resources at the school, how are those resources being used, and ensuring that those resources are in fact being divided up in a way to maximize outcomes. We also conduct what we call impact reviews. This is the ongoing evaluation of how these dollars are being used in order to ensure we're seeing a continuous return on that particular investment. Title I funding for us has been an opportunity to provide additional resources to some of our district's most fragile schools. So if you went back and you looked at the federal index that was just released regarding total funding, per student funding, you'll see significant variance in our district's most fragile schools. We know how to serve marginalized students. It is a priority for us. And when you look at what we value and you look at what someone values by looking at where they spend their money, you will see Miami-Dade County Public Schools as being proactive and intentional of ensuring a one-size-fits-all doesn't exist. One size fits none. We use those dollars, we use those resources to differentiate instruction by resources and programming so they receive everything they're entitled to receive.
From a district perspective, explain how student performance standards impact planning and prioritizing of facilities, fiscal, technological, and human resources.
Let's start with human resources. As I said, this is a people business. There's a lot of talk and conversation about understanding and teaching the standards and being able to unpack the standards and the complexity of standards. And all that's true. But you have to know the standards and the complexity of the standards to inform how you teach children. We start with children. We design lessons with the knowledge we have regarding standards and then scaffold the lesson based on the needs of those particular children. Now, in review of the data, there are significant opportunities to stop teaching to the middle. We need to be able to scale up instruction. There are high schools, Spruce Creek as an example, 76% of the students proficient, only 51% attaining learning gains. That means rigorous academic programming needs to be evaluated. Every students who are above the standard, just being proficient doesn't mean that we're fulfilling their potential. So it is being very, very aggressive and looking below the standard. Beneath the standard, it is differentiating instruction and using data to inform practice. Not using data to say what we need to teach again, but looking at data to evaluate how we taught and connecting to one another, problem solving together to improve instructional practice. When you look at technology, when you look at buildings, in order to be a 21st century learning organization that's meeting the needs of the 21st century learning, you're absolutely asking the right question. We need to evaluate the kinds of technology that we're exposing students to and how we're challenging them to use that technology to solve problems or to define problems. We need to look at spaces. At Deland High School today, that space in the media center is a validation that we're doing some outstanding work. It was beautiful. It was creative. Had a coffee in the media center. Very innovative space being used correctly. But we need to see more of that. We need to re-envision how we're using our media centers. We need to re-envision how we're using our classrooms. We need to re-envision bell schedules. There's a lot of work to be done in looking at the retrofitting of buildings to prepare students for the 21st century.
Thank you. To what degree do you believe responsibilities can and should be delegated to principals? And how would you hold them accountable for accomplishing those responsibilities?
So when you ask that question, I want to be clear. I'm in this game with principals. I am equally accountable to the outcomes principals have. Will I hold them accountable for their outcomes? Absolutely. But that's not going to be sitting here in the office and saying, here are the keys, here's your outcome that you're supposed to obtain. Good luck with that. It is organizing us as a district to ensure every member of this organization understands how they are in the game to improve student performance. So hold accountable is one thing, but I want to be equally invested in supporting them, establishing the balance between support and accountability. Now, I assure you, when I did my tours today, my behaviors were different than my behaviors in Miami when I visit schools. But I have the highest expectation and belief in what principals should be doing. It is one of the greatest jobs in the world. And with that being such a great job, there's a high level of accountability. Every principal should be able to stand at that door, speak to the teacher behind that door, the kinds of support that teacher is being provided, the quality of instruction, and what we're doing in order to improve that quality instruction on a daily basis. And then we walk out, tell me your feedback. How are you going to support this teacher based on what you observed today? How are you going to continue to grow and invest in that teacher based on your observation today?
Next, how would you address the issues of safety and security?
Safety and security for us is an expectation. It is a daily walk. As I said earlier, learning can't happen unless students walk into schools and they feel as if the pressure of the world come off them, as if they're walking in a church. In this house, I know I am loved. I know I am cared for. I know I am respected. I can be who I am, and I can connect to what's being done in classrooms. It is a daily responsibility. In Miami-Dade County Public Schools, we are the one district in Florida that does not use the state's generic template for school improvement. It didn't meet our needs. It didn't meet our teachers' needs. It surely didn't meet our students' needs. So we developed our own. And in that process, we start with culture. We don't start with academic programs. Academic programs are important, but before we get to academic programs, we need to ensure that adult behavior is correct. We need to ensure that we're being intentional about creating environments in all schools in which we're developing a safe, warming, caring environment. So to be specific in addressing it, we hold schools accountable to investing in developing and planning for environments in which they feel safe, students feel safe, comfortable, cared for, and loved.
Quickly, how would you characterize your relationships with employee groups in your current position? How would the unions in your current and previous district positions describe you?
As someone who is an innovator, someone who has a high expectation, someone who will stand side by side with them and engage in this work, someone who knows and believes that there is no job in this district that is beneath him, someone who is open, honest, someone who will say, I made a mistake, and I need to rectify that, I need to apologize. Relationships is key to working with unions. Our goal is the same. We come at it maybe from different perspectives or different units of work, but ultimately, the opportunity for us to connect together and work together is absolutely based on relationships, saying something and then actually following through and doing it.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes, and we'll continue with questioning from our Vice Chair, Ms. Ida Wright.
Good afternoon again.
Afternoon.
Fiscal management. Tell us about the latest large critical budgetary decision you made. What was the decision? What was the situation? Who was involved in helping to resolve the process or resolve the issue? And what was the impact of your decision? So I'll start with what was the situation?
All right. Are we going to break down the question? Or So as I said, I believe I'm extremely intentional and proactive. It is my goal as a leader and as a superintendent to identify situations that could be problems 6, 12, 18 months down the road. So the situation, in order to answer your question, revolves around instructional coaches. So my office, the turnaround office, education transformation office, biggest investment is instructional coaches. And using those coaches as they intended to do, build, support, and develop teachers. We had a problem in securing quality coaches, those who really wanted to be in schools. We had a problem with administrators using those coaches as they were intended to be used, to provide support. Rather, they were using them as, administrative assistants and carrying radios and doing bus duty and things of that nature that were ultimately going to not remove away from investing in teachers. So we did two things. I reduced the external office by 19 employees, 19 curriculum support specialists who were at the district, sent them back to schools. I want the best, closest to children, supporting teachers who stand in front of children every single day. Use that reduction in the budget to negotiate with our union a incentive, a increase in pay, a stipend, so we could recruit and retain the right coaches. Coaches who are able to work under an MOU to protect them to do what both the union and I thought was important, build capacity, ensuring 80% of their time was in direct contact in support of instructional coaches. And then to put my money where my mouth is, for lack of a better way of saying it, at the end of the year, ask the teachers who received the support from that coach, did they provide support? Did they build your capacity? Or were they just seen as another administrator trying to move up on the career? And if that was the case, in that agreement with the union, we wouldn't pursue that individual as a coach anymore. The outcome was once again significant increased achievement for the Education Transformation Office. That is the year we went from 32 D schools down to 16, and then to 5, and now just 1. So what initially we're reducing staff, less to go into schools and provide responses to critical situations. Ultimately, what we did was invest in building capacity at school sites to sustain practices and outcomes over time.
Okay. And staying in line with that, this is somewhat of a follow-up, so I'm not going to read the entire question because I was going to ask about a time that you had to make budget cuts. So you use that as an example. But expound on, then how do you feel about reserves, budget reserves?
So in a review of Miami's reality and Volusia's reality, there is a healthy reserve in Volusia in comparison to Miami. And I think that's a good thing. I think there's solid fiscal management in place. I think there are opportunities to evaluate how we're spending our money. And as I said earlier, if you look at what someone defines as being important, All you need to do is look at where they're spending their money. So in a review of the total budget, I see there's about a 2.5% of the total budget spent in central staff and Volusia in comparison to Miami. So there are opportunities to evaluate how we're organized as a district, to increase opportunities to pool funds closer to children. I look at instructional resources at schools, and there's about a 5% difference. We spend 5% of our budget more on instructional resources or dollars at schools versus Volusia. So fiscally responsible, we're in a good place. But by establishing a strategic plan that's grounded on improving student outcomes, we then could have a values-based budget system that allows us to connect every dollar we spend to the advancement of our strategic plan.
What is the largest budget you've been responsible for, and what was the greatest opportunities as well as challenges in that budget?
So the Education Transformation Office supports, on average, between 78,000 to 84,000 students on a yearly basis. If you look at the entitlements that are connected to those schools as well as the FTE, that's over $1 billion. So what are the outcomes? The outcomes are unparalleled, unprecedented results. 5 years ago, 64 schools below a DNF. Today, just one. Academic graduation rates for those schools have improved by 14 percentage points. Proficiency in reading has improved by 8 percentage points. 76% of the schools in Miami-Dade County Public Schools are either an A or a B, which is 13% above the state's average. So the outcomes of how we do this work and manage these dollars in order to maximize outcomes by investing in the members of the organization to ensure they're world-class has been significant.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. My turn.
All right.
All right. We talked a little bit, and you mentioned, I think, a couple of times, principal's the best job in the world.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what makes an effective school?
A clearly defined expectation, an unwavering belief that as a result of our interactions and our relationships with children, that they can walk into our classrooms and not only feel safe and feel comfortable, but we can provide them with the thinking, the power, the knowledge, the instructional activities to continuously redefine that expectation. An effective school is an empowered school. That the members of the organization or the school clearly are valued, they're respected, we're maximizing the levels of thinking. Teachers feel safe, they feel comfortable, they can take a risk. They can tell their principal, I really think this is an outstanding idea. And the principal will say, you know what, let's explore it together. It is a school that accelerates adult learning. If you want to maximize outcomes, you do that by empowering schools to the adults in schools to accelerate their learning, ensuring that they're connected in a way to constantly evaluate instruction. And when I say evaluate, I'm talking about the administrator conducting their evaluation for the end of year evaluation, but reflecting on implementation, being provided support on implementation, problem solving with one another on how to possibly improve that. Successful schools are schools that have adults who constantly learn. Impactful schools do that learning quicker than others.
And so how do you evaluate that effectiveness?
A number of ways. First way is not to do it from the central office, is to do it in schools. So I live and will continue to live in schools, evaluating the systems and structures, asking the right questions to the principal, the assistant principal, the cafeteria worker, the students, regarding how they are perceived, how they are valued, where are we going? Being very intentional. I do not walk into any of the schools that I support without their school improvement process in my hand. In our district, as I was saying, we have our own school improvement process. School sites, the leadership teams working with their teachers have defined these are our essential practices. These are the things that we evaluate in school culture, and academic programs to be the most important to improve outcomes for children. These are the action steps that we're taking over the course of this particular 9 weeks. I'm going to walk in that school and say, show me the implementation of this particular plan. So I walk in to schools informed, knowing what the school sites have defined as their priorities, and then problem solve with principals regarding the implementation that I see. So I evaluate it on a daily basis.
Okay. What do you feel is the single, I know this is hard, what is the single most important piece of data that you think will drive the Volusia County School District forward?
Ownership. And when I say ownership, it is the complete dismissal of blame. It is individuals at every point of the organization who love what they work. They love where they work. They love the work that they do. They own the work that they do. And when I say ownership, when you own something, you invest in that. You want to keep it nice. You want to keep it pretty and in a good place. When people just look at education as a job or something that they have to do, there's no ownership. So when I say assessing ownership, that's a hard thing to assess. But when you live and breathe in schools, you have a clear understanding of the perception teachers have, and whether are they valued, are they not valued. When you live and breathe and connect to the community, does that community own and want to support that particular school in which their son or daughter goes to? Or are they just completely frustrated with how they're treated and then they have no clue what's going on? There's no ownership. You want to transform a district? Invest in the individuals in the community. Invest in the members of the organization. Challenge them. Empower them to take ownership of the outcomes that we could provide for our children.
One of the challenges that schools have is to increase the learning gains of children in poverty, reading, mathematics, the elementary level, middle school level, high school level. Share your thoughts with us about what programs or what things you think can be implemented to improve those scores.
So my honest answer, we have teams from across the nation who come to Miami wanting to know what resources we use, what programs we use, how we are designed, what instructional technology are we using, what intervention programs do we use, what do we use for core instruction. And when they leave, I often feel as if they're asking the wrong questions. Those are all important. And I can run you through our content, our curriculum, and our resources. But those are tools that are used by teachers. The number one resource in a district are teachers. We need to be skilled in a way to empower them to use those resources, to use those tools to be best by kids. As a district, equally so, as we are in the midst of whatever Florida standards are going to be, we're going to have to respond and react to those new standards. We need to ensure the folks, our content experts, are absolutely the best. They can evaluate the shifts and modifications in standards and identify these are the resources that are going to be best for Volusia students in order to continue to excel them to the next level. World-class districts are intentional in investing in the teachers and those who support teachers, maximizing our organizational design, maximizing our content, our curriculum.
We haven't talked too much about development of a strategic plan, so tell me your thoughts about that.
My thoughts are probably very significantly different than others. And once again, when people come in, they ask for our strategic plan. And we say it's radically different. And when they look at our radically different plan, the response typically is oh, no, that's too much. We can't do that. But you're here because you want radically different results. As I said earlier, I believe a strategic plan can either pull you together or it can pull and silo an organization and tear them apart. We have one singular goal: student achievement. We use pillars that are pulled or woven together by our guiding principles. Guiding principles are the defined behaviors, rules of engagement on how we communicate, interact, believe, and connect to one another. How we are structured as an organization to be strong and tight as we implement the strategic plan. One singular goal, constantly defining the systems and structures of how we communicate and engage together. And then we look at pillars. The first pillar, as I said, same thing with continuous improvement or school improvement process, culture. We ensure that we have a culture that grows every member of the organization. We start and we're intentional with culture. Then we ensure our strategic plan addresses world-class teachers, leaders, and staff. And I think I've spoken a lot about investing in world-class teachers, leaders, and staff. Once we have those two things in place, rigorous academic programs for all children. I don't care where you fall, from a level 5 to a level 1. I don't care your background. I don't care if you come from poverty. I don't care if you're a marginalized student, black or brown. We need to provide academic programs for them that accelerate their potential. Then we're going to have informed and engaged and empower stakeholders. We just can't look internally at ourselves and our strategic plan. We need to push ourselves outside throughout the community and engage and inform them to help connect to us, partner with us, inform us to be a powerful transformational district. Ooh, I just choked there. And then finally, sustainable business practices. As an organization, how are we designing business practices to build capacity and sustain outcomes and reducing cost over time?
This position, we're assuming you would start here, you would start in January, let's say. Quickly give me your thoughts about what you would be doing, hope to achieve in January, what you hope to achieve by April, and where you think you'd be by the end of June.
I have things I want to accomplish in December. This is a critical time of the school year. The days of easing into the holiday break are a thing of the past. This is a key time in our school year to evaluate our action over the first course of the year, to come together school by school to determine what has worked, what has been the growth of our students, where do we recalibrate, shift, or modify practice over the second part of the year in order to ensure an outcome. That needs to happen in December. I want the opportunity to sit with every principal, surrounded by cabinet, and problem solve. Talk me through your theory of action. Talk to me how you're supporting teachers. Talk to me about where you currently are at this point of the year. Talk to me about what you have learned regarding that implementation. And talk to me about the action that you're going to take in order to ensure a successful outcome. And then tell me, principal, what do you need from me? How can I help you? How can I uplift you in order to ensure you have everything you need from these members of cabinet in order to get this complex, difficult work done? I've already written about the external partners in our D schools. We should have 0 Ds. We should have 0 Cs. We should have 0 Bs, which is a big statement, but trust me, it's a true statement. And we have to close the door on Schools of Hope. We have to close the doors on Hope operators. We have to close the door on external partners because it opens avenues for outside organizations and entities to come in who provide subpar support and subpar education. The core of this work is teaching and learning. We need to own it. We need to be the absolute best at it. And I know that we already are, so we can't pull ourselves away from doing that work. Those things need to happen in December. So where I am in that's just December, right?
I know.
So in the first 30 days, it's really connecting, moving through the organization, understanding the totality of the district, where we currently are, what is working, what isn't working, listening. Listening to the community, listening to district staff, listening to everybody in the organization, everyone in the county, while at the same time not just listening, describing what we can be as a district and the impact that we can have. Establishing a balance between where we currently are as a district and where we know we could be in order to strategically meet the needs of all students in our community. The next 30 days would be about establishing those guiding principles. If we're going to develop a strategic plan, we need to ensure that we know how to connect and interact and engage with one another, think with one another, learn from one another, so when we get to the point that we are implementing the plan, we're going to be successful. Strategic plans can be written, they can be great plans, but they're just words on paper. If we're going to be best by kids, we need to be intentional about how we function, connect, and work together. And then, in that last 30 days, it's the beginning process of engaging and connecting, reorganizing us as a district to think through how we shift and modify ourselves to be best by kids. And it's done collectively. It's done through a process, a protocol-driven process where we're facilitating conversations at multiple points of the organization to define opportunities to improve, refine, and modify practice to be best by kids.
Thank you. Board members, we do have some time. If any board member would like to ask an additional question, let me know. Seeing none? None? Do you have one? Ms. Cuthbert?
You definitely want to hold our principals accountable. If you uncover in your first 30 days, 90 days, a principal that you deem is not holding his or her weight up, what is your process of either retraining, keeping, reevaluating, or maybe dismissing that principal from his or her position?
So not knowing what that situation is.
Well, it could be anything.
Okay, well, in some cases, it will be termination then, depending on what that may be. Standing operating procedure is setting expectation. Mm-hmm. Defining what the role is, what the expected outcome is going to be, and then moving forward, working together, upholding the support. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about a balance between support and accountability, the two don't work independently. If you're looking for a superintendent who says, this is your expected outcome, go and make it happen, I'm not your guy. But if you're looking for someone who says, this is the expected outcome, this is how we can be best by kids, and I am going to, hold you accountable to the outcome. And I'm going to do so because I know in my heart that I've done everything possible to invest in you as a person, to build your skill, to invest in you, to problem solve with you, to fail forward with you. It is a people-first business. So holding people accountable has never really been a difficult situation for me because I know in my heart's heart, I'm constantly investing in them in order to ensure we're all finding success collectively.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cuthbert. Mr. Colon.
And so I'm very big on the district being the source of news for our community. How do you envision or feel about being available to the media, newspaper, TV, et cetera?
An effective superintendent has the ability to leverage everything you just said. I think we need to be able to brand and market the great things that we're doing. We need to be intentional. We need to have a strategy. We need to have a plan, but we need to be at the forefront of drilling home a message to everyone in the community. These are the outstanding things that are happening in this community. We need to front load the message of the powerful practices that currently live here in Volusia County Schools, while at the same time having plans of action in place when something or a crisis happens. We're also at the forefront. We want our community to have trust and respect and ownership for us as a district. We can't do that by remaining silent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cologne. Ms. Wright.
So in hearing all of that, one of the things for our district is succession planning. How do you, if you're the superintendent, how do you create and maintain the next generation of leaders in this district?
So as I said earlier, I am 100% invested in my own development. You will see that I will, on a national level, seek opportunities to grow myself, to ensure that I can continue to invest in Volusia County. Succession management is growing individuals within the organization who are ready to take the next step and lead at a higher level. We need to be growing superintendents. We need to be growing district or area superintendents. The success that Miami had really is all about the people in that organization, our intentional investment in them. Succession management is extremely important. It is the foundation of an organization. I believe in learning organizations. A lot of research out there on learning organizations, which fundamentally is the ability of an organization and the adults within that organization to continually refine and grow themselves.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Any other questions by any board member? Seeing none, then we are to the point where we want you to have the opportunity to either ask the board any questions that you may have at this point, or also, if not, to give your closing comments and mention anything and that you think the board should know that we haven't already gleaned from this interview about before we make this important decision.
All right, so one important thing that I neglected to do and probably will get in trouble for not doing is acknowledge my wife who is back there with me.
So noted. All right, that's good. That's good.
Yes, I married up. Yeah, no doubt about it. And really just thank her for being my partner in this work and giving up so much to invest in me. So take the time to acknowledge her. Just in terms of closing comments, about a year ago, my wife and I came here to help her brother and his wife move in to Port Orange. And as we drove up, well, actually, as we were driving up Port Orange, Orange County, I thought it was in Orlando. So we were about 45 minutes delayed, at which time my wife had a fruitful conversation with me about why can't men use ways to, find out where they're going.
I said the same thing.
So we got there, we helped him move in, and spent the weekend exploring his new town. As we drove home, we spoke about how the town reminded us of what Homestead always wanted to be but never could be. I grew up in a small town, which is basically the gateway to the Keys, 40 miles outside of Miami. That's where I met that young lady over there. That is where we fell in love. That is where we got married. That is where we grew a family together and raised our children. So when this position came open, and it came open relatively quickly, it was extremely intriguing to have an opportunity to explore a place, possibly to be superintendent, that reminded us of home. Home is where your family is. Truth be told, the only family that I have in Miami is sitting right back there. Both of our families have moved away. Our daughters are in college. So that is intriguing. When this board took bold leadership and says we deserve, and our students deserve, our community deserves a world-class educational system, that was intriguing. As I listened to the community, as you went through or go through, continue to go through this process regarding what do we want in the next superintendent of Volusia County, I continued to be encouraged, not only in terms of what they were saying, but the alignment between what the board wanted in a superintendent and what the community wanted in a superintendent. I've had the privilege of working in one of the nation's most innovative districts. I have been pursued and pushed to apply for superintendent positions for about three and a half years. This is the first time, the first community that I thought this is a place where I can serve as superintendent. I'm not looking to be a superintendent or use Volusia to get a foot in the door and move up. My father was a principal of a school for 21 years. As I mentioned, I was a principal of 3 schools over 7 years. When he retired, his closing remarks to his faculty at his celebration was a validation to me as to what true leadership was. This is someone who invested in individuals for over 21 years, continued to grow them, continued to support them. It wasn't someone who went in and did something for 2 years and then went to another organization or another school or another district and did that same thing or repeated those same practices just at a different place. That's true leadership. That's the impact that I want to have here in Volusia County. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you are aware, and your wife, I hope, is aware that we have this reception this afternoon. I promise there won't be any questions being asked. That part's over, at least for now.
Yeah, not by y'all, but there are any questions asked.
But there may be some questions from some other folks, but not from this group. I promise you that. It should be a fun time, relaxed time, and that starts at, what, 5:15, I guess, for them, right? What, is it 4:45 now? No.
5:15 for the meet and greet with the Citizens Advisory Committee, and then 6 o'clock for the reception for the community.
Okay, 5:15 for the meet and greet with the Citizens Advisory Committee, and 6 o'clock for the members of the general public. Dr. Moore, I want you to know that the school board will be meeting again in regular session on November the 12th. That's Tuesday, at which time the board will make their final decision. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've done throughout your career to dedicate yourself to helping children, to helping teachers, helping your community. You have a great deal of admiration from your community, from which they have sent many letters to us. I just have to make that point. So you should be proud of that. That concludes our meeting, and hope to see many of you at the reception this evening. We are adjourned.
Thank you.